Where you going with this? Who you controlling with this? You think you got some nerve? Boy, say word. Cause I'm flowing with this. I think I'm growing with this. I think you knowing with this. I'm gonna show 'em with this. This is a very impromptu message. So I know I'm not following my typical intro, but for those that are new here on the platform, hi, I'm Taisha P, artist, writer, creative, marketing maven, a woman that essentially wears many hats. And I have built this platform to share my intuitive nudges that come to my mind, as this one is right now, that I feel inclined to share, and I'm using this space and forum to do so. So today, I was thinking about a situation that happened in my life recently that was an eye opener, to say the least. And it opened the windows to my soul. Like, I know that sounds so deep, but that's literally how it felt. It allowed me to see into not only who I am, but who I thought I once was. And not only who I thought I once was, but also who I thought I once was in relation to the world around me. And the sentence that came to my mind was, I am the bridge. And if you noticed in a lot of my symbolism, if you have been tuned in a little bit for a while, you can see I do things with pathways, with bridges, with some type of gap, if you will, where you're exiting one world and entering another, or simply just the continuation or the merging of different worlds into one end all be all continuing direction, I guess. It's just something that allows these two connections to now forge. And what came to me was, I am the bridge, because I realized the middle version of myself, which is really the present version of myself. I'm not my future self, and I'm not my past self. I'm only what exists in the right now. And what exists for me in the right now is the understanding that I have a lot of work to do. But when I say I have a lot of work to do, it doesn't have anything to do with financial gain or career or anything like that, but a lot of work in understanding that as the bridge, as the connector of worlds, I have to understand that in some worlds, I'm going to have to exit at a point because my work is done. However, I have the relatability to still coexist in that world, to still have some level of understanding and connection to said world, but I don't have to be of it. I don't have to live like it. I don't have to succumb to it. And I also don't have to pretend to be okay with it. And pretend to be okay with it, referencing certain things, situations, ways of being, mindsets, actions being taken. I don't have to, as the bridge, still be comfortable with what the old world is doing, to still understand that I can be here, but I don't have to be of here. I don't have to move like here. I don't have to think like that. I have choice. I have an understanding of self enough to know that there is something within this environment that I needed at a point in time. But once I was able to grow and take what I needed as the bridge to connect me to a new world, a new desire, a new life path, a new beginning, I can shed those layers that no longer serve me. And I feel like I'm in this bridge, I guess, time point in my life where I understand the importance of maintaining certain connections and not getting too big headed as far as, okay, you started to experience this now and you started to do that now. You've outgrown that space. A lot of people take a couple steps forward and have that mindset. And I do understand why, after coming from a certain place to get to another place, you can have that idea of, all right, I'm beyond this. Let me just drop it and act like it doesn't matter and act like it doesn't exist and overlook and judge and have all these opinions about something that you no longer choose to subscribe to. But I've taken the perspective today to understand that I needed every opportunity that fell through to fall through, or I needed the friends that we were two peas in a pod, but then something happened and it was like the dynamic changed forever. I needed the situations where I thought I was going to be in a certain place by a certain age, and then I realized that I didn't make the mark just yet to have that experience. Not because I innately believe that negative circumstances has to happen for me to see myself in a new way, but sometimes negative situations have to happen so that you can understand what worlds you are bridging yourself to, so that you can be aware that when you build connections, you're not just building for the sake of being lonely, or you're not just building for the sake of you understand that world and you're comfortable in that world, so it's an easy transition to shapeshift from this world to that one. But instead, we are actively choosing with intention certain worlds to connect to, because it is going to grow you, because it is going to expand you, because it provides a certain worldview that you did not know of, because it provides you with a lens that you didn't see, a perspective that you didn't have, a way of thinking that you hadn't come across up until that point. And I realized within myself that many times I've tried to build worlds and bridge gaps, sometimes where there were no materials, there was no foundation, there was no relatability as far as the ultimate direction where I was trying to get to. But it was because of the comfortability and because of the not wanting to just get straight to it, not wanting to just get right into the thick of things, but wanting to hold on to something because I felt the need to position myself a certain way, that if I just stay connected to these people, I could get that. Or I want to do it with them because those are my folks. And I'm not saying you can't have that mentality. I'm not saying you can't have that mindset. But a bigger picture that I feel like God has been pushing me to have, a bigger perspective, is, do you care more about being able to say you were there, you had access, you met these people, it was a great time? Or anything where it's more about what you can say you did as far as just a simple flex? Or are you actually trying to transition into a new world where you are a part, not because you're forcing your foot into the room, but because you've accepted this as your new reality, and you don't feel shame in having a certain standard that you set yourself to live at, and that people meet you there, whether that be your career and your lifestyle, or where you travel to and how you travel, or whether that be even on the regular, just foundational tip of the type of people you have around you, and do they match your moral values? Do they match your level of care? Do they match your level of concern? Do they match how you show up? Are they genuine? Are they pure? How do they make you feel as a person? These are things that need to be considered, because a lot of people find themselves, and myself included, I'm speaking to the choir, but I'm also speaking to myself. We find ourselves in situations where we want to be around people, and we want to have love and friends and connections and all these things, but ultimately we don't even check ourselves at the door for not only how we're showing up in terms of as a friend, or as a family member, or a person in community. We're just thinking about how we can extract from someone. And we don't think about it always in a subconscious way, but a lot of people operate like this more than they want to admit. And sometimes that doesn't even come from a thing of, oh, you want to use them, but it comes definitely from a place of people have diminished the value of others to solely being a means to an end for many. And it's not about actually loving on someone and caring about them and being someone that's valuable in their ecosystem beyond exchanging some type of thing. But it's about, how can I use this person as a stepping stone to get ahead? And I'm so out of tune with relationships like that, because no tea, no shade. And I'm not trying to sit here and act like this is necessarily the way to go. I'm not saying this. I don't know the answers. I don't have the answers. But I know that I never want my talents to ever be solely attributed just because of who I was connected to. I used to get really upset, and not in an outward expression kind of way, but emotionally, I would be bothered when I would see certain people have this like over the top outward expression, so it felt like, to maybe a certain celebrity online, but I just posted something about, a project or an idea I'm working on. I would feel some type of way when I would see even people that mutually I know each other, and it's kind of like the same thing, but maybe it's a situation of, oh, that person has a certain I want to say archetype, if you will, that, okay, this is the type of person we want to rally behind because of their archetype, but not because we're actually receiving value here. And when I had that realization that, oh, this is how people move, they don't care about if you're actually giving value. They just want to see you express, something that makes them feel whatever thing inside. I realized maybe this isn't my audience here. Maybe I shouldn't necessarily be attempting to bridge anything in these particular spaces. Because what if it's not actually about me and what I have to offer at all, but that I'm solely just putting my attention into spaces and places that don't have the eye to necessarily recognize my value. And that right there, that line is like the line of all lines. Are you bridging connections to worlds that don't recognize your value and trying to convince them to do that, when in fact you need to be positioning yourself into the spaces and places of the people that see your value, that understand your worth, and that respect it on a level where they're not complaining, they're not sitting here waiting for things to change, but they're actively moving, they're actively going, they're actively saying, we like what you're doing because we're doing something where those two worlds collide in a beautiful way and can be merged and can have success and can thrive and can win. I used to sit here and wonder why certain people would move a certain way when it came to me, and take it a little personal, to be quite honest with you. Like, why do they do that with me and not with them? And now I'm at a point where I realize, I'm like, wait, being connected to this person, that person, that person, whoever, that ain't never get me nowhere. I was the one that put myself in position to really start taking myself seriously and seeing from that, what can I create? What can I birth? What can I expand in a way that now connects my world, being the bridge, to worlds that recognize, wait, this is something that we need. Wait, this is something that we get. This is something that we relate to. And understanding that when you connect worlds, you are signing contracts, invisible or visible. When you say, I'm joining a company, or when you say, I'm joining this business, or when you say, I'm like, or when I say joining, that could be investing, or you simply literally joining a team as some type of member. Anything where you are saying, I'm committing myself to this space with the intention to be sacred about it, to move with some level of sacredness about it, that matters. That counts for something. And having the clarity that that does count for something has told me within this space that I'm in, as I process how I think, how I feel about a lot of things that I've been getting exposed to, if you will. I've been seeing how there's been a lot of illusions. There's been a lot of reality checks. There's been a lot of unlinking of bridges. There's been a lot of unbinding myself to certain worlds. Because I understand that when I do connect to a certain space and I give it my time, my attention, my money, my energy, my peace, my love, my joy, my happiness, my humor, when I give it my anything, I am bridging a world. And yes, I do value that greatly. So now I get this whole new understanding of what it means to be in community. And what that looks like to me now is not being so open with, let me just be here, let me just be there. Not being so open with my time. Being able to tell some people no or not now. And not from even a place of, oh, I'm setting boundaries. Oh, I'm not interested because I want to be funny. Or whatever else, people do to kind of exert power, if you will, over others. That's the farthest thing from how I think and how I'm feeling. But instead, what God is drawing me to see in this season is, what contracts am I unconsciously committing myself to that is becoming a part of my world, and I will inevitably become part of theirs? And how do I see myself fitting in these spaces, in these places? Because if I don't, then it's time to move. And it's time to unlink. And it's time to unchain. Growing up, there was a song that went triple platinum in my church. And I feel like triple platinum in black churches, period, all over the country. I live in the US. And that song was called Break Every Chain by Tasha Cobbs, I believe. And connecting it to this message, I really want to emphasize to all of my listeners that you have the power to break every chain, because some chains indeed are curses. And when I say curses, I'm not talking about bad words. I'm talking about spells that have been attacking your life subconsciously under your nose, and you have no clue. Not even because you actively are ignoring it, but it has become so normalized. It has become so expected. It has become so familiar that almost to call it out, it seems like kind of like that idea of, what's your problem? Why do you have a problem with something that people have been dealing with for years and nobody's made a fuss? Why are you making the fuss? I'm making the fuss because I have the understanding now that something is wrong here. And I'm aware of what I am chained to. I have put myself in a mental position to really get down and to really reach the bottom, the foundation of what attracts me to particular worlds. What attracts me to particular spaces. Because if I have said this no longer resonates, this no longer aligns, and it's not because I'm too good. It's not because I'm looking at somebody like I'm better than them. But it's because I'm literally in a space now where my spirit is having a visceral reaction to what is being taking place or to another person's spirit, I have no choice but to just let it go. I make no exceptions for that. Because I'm not going to put myself in any way, space, or position. I refuse to just mindlessly be connected to certain worlds anymore. I feel like it doesn't make any sense to just be itching for connections when you are the bridge. And as a bridge, you have a responsibility to understand that connections are everywhere, but a true current where there's a life cycle that flows, where energy gets fed and then energy is received. That's where the realest, rawest, most expansive form of connection has the potential to grow and create. But when you sit here and you're worried about everything and everyone and just so much other than what you really can be doing to position yourself, sometimes you gotta learn to leave the extras behind. Leave what you've outgrown. Leave what you thought you wanted. And that sometimes is the hardest thing. I feel like I've been mourning a lot since my birthday. And when I say mourning, I'm not talking about somebody physically passing, but almost like myself. I feel like I've been mourning who I thought I was, who I thought certain people in my life were to me. I've been mourning what my vision of normal was or was going to be. I've been mourning what I would consider to be the ideal, and having a real battle to the fact that just because something was ideal doesn't mean that it's meant to be or in your best interest. And sometimes your best interest is not what you want, but is what you need. And where I'm at, I'm okay if I don't receive what I want, if that means I'm going to receive what my soul needs. Because it's deeper than just having things at this point for me. It's about being in a space where I'm not getting played out of my spot just to feel like I belong, just to feel like somebody cares, just to feel like I deserve some type of love or respect or value, when I understand that within me being the bridge, The bridge already naturally has value because you're coming on a way, you're coming in a approach to show I relate. That's why I can connect. I don't know if this is a thing, if there's something called the bridge theory or something. I don't know. Maybe I just came up with that. But I swear to you, I had this thought, and it's almost like God really has spoke to me about what does being a bridge look like to you? What does being a bridge look like to anyone that has the mindset of, if you know that collecting a certain level of respect and adoration and community is something that you desire, that's fine. But also understand that there is an exchange going on. The bridge doesn't just get to be tapped in, but not fully submerged, but not fully in community. The bridge has to serve as a liaison, something to be able to at times only have actualized. I know I just used those two words back to back. But actualized power in being used, connected. A bridge doesn't really have any value until somebody has to use it, right? Other than that, it's just literally just something there that puts two ends together. So for me in this season, how I take being a bridge is, I just want to be someone that understands where I connect my energy to matters, and that my energy is not to be exploited, wasted, or underappreciated. And whenever I recognize that that's what's going on, I step aside and allow for people to do them as I do me. Because I only got power over me at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's my word as far as me being the bridge. That's just something I felt inclined to share today, so I did. So, yeah, you're the bridge. Embrace it. And with that power, have the understanding that you need to be well aware of what you're connecting yourself to, as well as what's connecting to you. Anyways, it's your girl Taisha P signing out. Later, y'all.